No, con...
Hi, everybody.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. We're going to ask that you all mute yourselves. Please press the mute button. Because we will be having so many people online.
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Some of you I know, and oh, thank you so much for coming here today, everybody. We had over 200 people respond, and so we are going to wait for just a little while to have people show up. And it's just a wonderful thing to see people coming on board. We are going to do everything possible, folks, to give you a tool that you can use to disrupt anxiety, not only for yourself, but for the people around you. This is perfect. So, Beth Ann, hi. Hello.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. What a great turnout. This is
Isn't
fabulous.
this great? Yes.
Look at Sonia and Hal. I haven't seen you guys in
yeah.
years.
Oh,
Oh,
Marion and Esther and
gosh.
you know, for those of you who we have never spoken to before, thank you so much for coming here today. Thank you for taking your time to show up for this. And we promise you, we're going to give you all we can give you in this hour and a half to show you how to make life a little easier, especially right now. So it's wonderful that all these people have signed up. We now have, we're still growing, 128, probably get to about 150 before the end. So we're asking that people just wait a little while with us to make sure that everybody can come on board. Good.
This is so wonderful to see you all.
Got people joining from all over the world right now.
All over the world. This is incredible. Hi, Susie Miller. And my neighbors, hello to my neighbors who also are on the call. Wow. What's great is just flipping through the pages and seeing everybody's name and face is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I think it's just fabulous.
Really.
There's Ruth.
Okay, just one more minute and then we're raring to go. I see we have 151. so far. And just in case some other people just need another minute to sign up. Hi, all from Texas. Oh, that's so great. So why don't we begin? It's 11:03 and I'm so excited. We have so much that we want to give people. So I want to welcome you all and invite you all into this space that we are creating today. One of the things that we love to do in all of our webinars is to create the space for you to relax and begin to see some things that you hadn't seen before, which when you see them will bring a lot more ease into your life. And we are honored that so many of you are here today. And I see even as I speak, the number is growing. So the title of what we're going to be doing today is called Learning to Thrive in Difficult Times. Now, you see, we didn't use the word survive because survive implies that not only was it a struggle, but maybe you came out a little bit the worse because of it. And what we know from any time that calls upon us to do things differently, especially right now, there is a way that we can thrive. We can learn things that we hadn't learned before, which after the emergency is over can help us elevate our life to the next level. So I will invite you all, and I welcome you all. And Jeremy is controlling the slides today, and also he will be reading whatever you put in the chat space. So there are two ways to get a hold of me. One is put it in the chat space, and Jeremy will read it and read it to me, or tell them how they can raise their hand.
Yep, so you can go to the participants button if you want to raise your hand, and you should see after you click participants in the toolbar at the bottom, you should see a button that says raise hand if you want to say something at any point that we're going along here.
Oh, and Suze Miller raised her hand. Hey, Suze, what would you like to say?
You can, oops, sorry, I just remuted you, Suze.
By finding the raised hand signal.
Yes, hey, Suze, so good to see you, my buddy.
Good to see you, buddy.
Oh, thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
Ah, yes, yes, yes. I think it will be. We're going to have a great time. All right. So please get comfortable. If you need some water or something, some tea or whatever, make sure you have it near to hand, because I'm going to be presenting some things, but also there are times for us to chat and have conversations. So we want to make sure that you're comfortable during this time. Okay. The purpose of this webinar is to give you simple practices for disrupting anxiety, period. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to paint a picture of how we can disrupt the anxiety that occurs in our brain. Then we're going to put you through something called the gratitude protocol, in which you can see it for yourself. And then finally, we're going to talk about what you can do in addition to practicing the gratitude protocol, what you can do in the weeks that follow. And the gratitude protocol itself, as well as what you can do in the weeks that follow, we're going to be sending it to you in an email. So you don't have to worry about taking notes about that, folks, because it'll all be sent to you. Okay, so those of you who haven't learned about us, and I know that there are a big group of people for whom this is the first time you are in a webinar with us, and I'm so excited because this is our way of just saying, "Mwah, hello, hello, we're here." And you can read here, we turn timeless wisdom into practical tools to help purpose-driven people live a life they are proud of and to empower other people to do the same, because we love it when we are contributing to the lives of others. Okay. So this is me, Maria. I am the founder and director of the Academy for Coaching Excellence. I'm a psychologist, PhD psychologist, and also a master's certified coach. And if we had a few hours, I, being an extrovert, would love to tell you about my life and all the people I've met along the way and stuff. But, this is about something else. There was a joke, however. An extrovert like me was having lunch with an introvert. And they were coming to the end of their lunch, the two girlfriends. And the extrovert says to the introvert, Sally, we've been talking about me throughout this whole lunch. I've been telling you about my boyfriend, about my new job. Let's talk about you for a minute. What do you think of me? And of course, that's the extrovert. So that's enough about me. And I'm introducing you also to Jeremy.
Hi, everyone.
Jeremy is a course leader. He's one of the leading staff at the Academy. He's my buddy who's going to be kind of co-leading this webinar with me, in that he's advancing the slides and looking at your questions. I also want to introduce you to Beth Ann Suggs. Beth Ann is the Dean of Students at the Academy, my best buddy, and she's been with since the beginning of the Academy.
Beginning of time.
Since the beginning of time, that's true, that's true. We've had this Academy now for 19 years, so we have a sense that we've been around for a long time. Wayne, are you here? Wayne? Mr.
Yes,
Wayne?
he's here.
Oh,
He's
great.
waving.
I am here.
Okay, so Wayne is another director at the Academy, as well as Josh. Josh, are you here?
Know it.
All right, good. So we have a good crew here. So next. So I'm going to ask your permission for this hour and 20 minutes. Can we pretend that we've known each other for a while, please? Because I'm going to be saying some things to you that presume that you and I have been around each other for a while. I'm going to ask you to consider certain things that maybe you hadn't considered before. And, but in doing so, I promise that what you'll experience is some ease, an incredible amount of ease in your life. So let me start with the following. You are not your brain. You aren't. You have two eyes, a nose, a mouth, two ears, and a brain. Your brain is an organ, just like any other part of your body. And the reason I say this is because you are that which can observe and change your brain. You have the power to change your brain. Now, for most of us, I'm not saying anything new. You've probably read a lot of research or heard about it, that we have the power to actually change our brains. But I'm going to show you today how to do it so that you're going to have a sense for yourself about this. Okay.
So, there you go.
Great. Yes, ever so often, folks, the people who are new, if you could manage to mute your machine so that we won't get a lot of extra noise. So you are that which can focus your brain. And I am going to ask you a question right now along these lines. Do you notice how busy your brain has been over the past few weeks and months? Do you notice? Now, some of you, if you want, you can chat yes in the space, because today I'm going to be asking you to observe your brain, not falling into your brain's thoughts, but observing the brain. I'm going to ask that you have what we call an observational gap so that you can see your brain functioning. Do you see that your brain has been very, very busy? So please, some people put in the chat space. I just want some feedback here. Maybe, good. Perfect, I'm seeing them. Got a bunch of people saying yes, definitely. Thank you, perfect. Perfect, perfect, okay. So if you notice right now that your brain is going a little nuts, I want to say one thing. First of all, your brain is acting appropriately to what's going on. It's overdoing it a little bit, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I mean by that. But I want you to have the sense that your brain is very, very, very busy right now. And what it's doing is something that it has been doing for 100,000 years, folks. I want to take us kind of back for a little bit of perspective. Science has recognized that our brain has not changed much in over 100,000 years. About 8,000 years ago, we developed blue eyes. But other than that, the brain in its form and structure is not very much different from the way it was 100,000 years ago. Now, 100,000 years ago, our brain kept us alive. We didn't have fangs, we didn't have fur, we couldn't run very far. But we did have a brain that could look for everything that could go wrong. So go through this with me a little bit, okay? Imagine that we are all in a cave together, okay? All of us, all 185 of us are in a cave together. And we decide, this is 100,000 years ago, we decide that we're hungry, so we want to go outside of the cave to get some food. So we're stepping toward the edge of the cave. What is the first thing our brain is going to look for? What is it going to look for? You can type it in the chat space. Okay, I'm getting some, yep. Danger, threats, fear, predators. There you go. You know, you didn't say food. We're hungry, but do you notice that you didn't say food the minute we went to the edge of the cave? That's because those of us who looked for danger before sustenance, that means danger before almost anything else, we were the ones that lived. Because the people who had a brain that looked for food first became someone else's breakfast before they could have their own. You and I have inherited a brain that looks for danger above anything else when conditions change. Now, you can think about this in your own life if you reminisce for a moment about maybe the first day you went to high school, for those of us who may not have known anyone and it was your first day in high school, or imagining a party. Your friend invites you to a party and says that they'll be there to meet you at the door. And you go to the party, you walk in actually looking for your friend, and they haven't shown up. And you don't know anyone at the party. What is it that your brain is going to look for? What is it? What is your first response? You don't know anyone. And Jeremy, would you read a couple of these?
I get nervous. I look for an escape. Defense, safety, get me out of here. Looking for something familiar. Someone to talk to. Someone else in the same position as me.
Yep. Another friendly face to get away from what you're afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
You see? And this is a phenomenon called the negativity bias. The negativity bias. Now, Jeremy, if you type that into the chat space, I want to see, people to see how it's spelled.
I'll actually just pull the slides back up.
Okay, great. Because the negativity bias is something that has been studied a lot lately. It is the tendency of the brain to look for what's not working before it looks for what is working, to look for danger and threat before comfort. That is very, very basic to our brains. So I'm going to ask you to do something that may sound kind of, I don't know, maybe ridiculous, certainly rare. I'm going to ask you to have some compassion for this brain. Have some compassion for this brain of ours that still thinks that there is a woolly mammoth out there ready to swallow us up at any moment. Now, yes, there is danger because obviously we are facing a common threat to our health, yes? Not denying that at all. But wanting you to look at the quality of the brain's experience so that if you notice deep anxiety, if you notice that you're feeling somehow disoriented, it's only because your brain is trying to keep you safe. And trying to keep you safe as though it were 100,000 years ago. Because your brain still thinks that we're living 100,000 years ago. Do you get that, folks? I want you to see that about this poor organ of ours that really thinks we're living 100,000 years ago. So I'm just going to pause for a minute to see if there are any questions, any thoughts that any of you have. So let's look and see. If there aren't, I'll go on, but incidentally, I call what our brain is going through, this overactive looking for data that confirms and then reconfirms again about all the dangers. I call it the woolly mammoth syndrome. The woolly mammoth syndrome. Now, there's one thing, as you'll hear me say later on, there's one thing about checking in occasionally, let's say during the day, maybe 2, maybe 3 times, to hear about various statistics associated with our common health threat that we're going through. But some of us might notice that we're pulled to looking almost continuously. That's the brain's attempt continuously to try to make it safe for us. Jeremy, people are
Yep.
writing some things. If you read them to me, I just appreciate it.
Yeah, the common theme is a question of have our brains not evolved over time is one question, and the other question is there anything we can do to refocus our brains? Oh, you're muted, Maria.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
My computer just glitched a little. Would you say it
worries.
again?
Yep. So one question is, does it mean that our brain hasn't evolved over time? And the second question is there anything we can do to refocus our brains onto something more productive?
The answer to both questions is yes. The brain, in many respects, has not evolved over time. Now, let me say something. Our brain is capable of brilliant thoughts, and our thoughts have evolved over time, okay? But that's distinct from whether or not the organ itself has evolved appreciably over time. And that's what people are talking about when they say that in many respects, the brain has not changed much in 100,000 years. It has to do with the way it looks, who knows, it may be some of the mental processes, but when I just read that, our brain hasn't changed much in 100,000. Incidentally, Google a lot of what I'm saying because I want you to be informed. You don't have to take it just from my word. I'm just going over things very quickly today because I want to get to the heart of the matter, which is to teach you something called the gratitude protocol. But first, I'm laying the groundwork with you. So anything else, Mr. Jeremy?
Yeah, Elizabeth asks, how do you differentiate the role of the mind and brain?
Just basically, the mind is a product of the brain's activity. All right? Basically. You can observe the mind. If we had a few hours together, we could we could go through a whole way of seeing that you have the capacity even to observe the mind. You have the capacity to observe the productions of your brain. So that's how I, as a psychologist, over the years, have operationally defined this. You see, because one of the things I love to do, folks, is to take complex ideas and simplify them so that we can do something with them. And as I said, that's what we're going to be doing today. I will be showing you how you can focus your brain. Anything else, Mr. Jeremy?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions about news, which I know, and how much news we're taking in. I know we're going to get to that later. So
Yep.
We might, I think a lot of these questions will be answered once we introduce this protocol.
Great. So I'm going to introduce the protocol. I'm just going to hop right to it.
Great.
There's something that I developed. You know, one of the things one of the ways I contribute is I take complex things and make them simple. So a while back, I began showing people how to calm the brain. Now, one of the centers of your brain that contributes to anxiety. In other words, one of the brain centers that is lit up when you are endlessly searching for data about our common health threat. I mean, over and above the 2 or 3 times a day, when you're listening and listening and listening, one of the things that happens is it lights up your amygdala. You have 2 of them. They're almond shaped. As a matter of fact, it's Greek for almond shape. And the amygdala is the site of fight, flight, or freeze. And when we're anxious, it's almost as though if you could see it, if you could see your brain, you'd see that one of the centers that's lit up is this amygdala. And so the question becomes, how do you calm the amygdala? How do you say to the amygdala, I'm taking over now. You are not taking over. I am taking over. And so in order to even begin to imagine a whole scenario in which we could even say to our brain, I'm taking over now. I want to use a metaphor, and it has to do with training an animal. And in this case, it'll be with training a dog. So imagine that you're walking down a street and you see someone with their dog on a leash, and the dog is barking and it's making noise and it's pulling at the leash, and the owner keeps saying stop and is yanking the dog back, and every time the owner tries to yank the dog back, the dog even pulls stronger, and they're not having fun at all, right? On the other side of the street, you see a person with their dog. But here, the dog is walking alongside. It's been well trained. You know, dog trainers will tell you that when dogs are well trained, that's when they're happy. You know, well-trained dog is a happy dog. Because in this case, the dog is following next to the master. The master lets it go and sniff around because it's one of the things that dogs love to do. But it always is looking to the master for cues. Okay? In the same way, the Hindus have talked about, I'm just kind of elevating the metaphor a little bit, that we as human beings, we are like people riding in a chariot. We're in charge of the chariot, but we're being pulled by these 4 horses that are unruly. They're going all over the place. And that our job as a human being is to learn how to calm these horses down. Now, to get back to the training of a dog, for example, one of the reasons that a dog will be well trained is because, as you know, dogs are pack animals. And so in order for it to even want to listen to you, it's got to consider that you are the alpha. Now, in the first scene with the dog running all over the place, you could consider that the dog considers itself to be the alpha. And in the second scene, the dog has recognized that you, in fact, are the alpha. So what would it be like for you to get into a relationship with your brain in which you know that it's going to listen to you? What would that be like? In which you knew that it was going to listen to you. Any kind of questions that you have about this? Any thoughts? Because before we go on, I just really want to make sure that I'm being really clear in what I'm talking about with you.
People are saying freeing, easier, peaceful, comforting, calming, empowering. Yep.
Okay. So today I'm going to I'm going to show you in essence how to show the brain that you are the master. Okay? So the protocol that I developed a few months ago, and I actually tried it out on a bunch of people before I actually started giving this to students and to colleagues and whoever wanted to listen about it. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to ask you to be the scientist of your own experience. That's what a protocol is. It's a scientific way of looking at things. So let's look at how to actually do it. And in order to do it, please advance the slide again, Jeremy. Get a piece of paper and a pen or pencil, or use 2 note cards. So I'm going to pause right now for you to just go somewhere, get a clean piece of paper, because you're going to draw 2 boxes. And I'll tell you in a minute what to put on the boxes. So, but first go ahead and do that. Just waiting about 30 seconds for people.
Quimby says, this is very clear, and to be able to do this on demand would be very great.
Yeah, you can do it on demand. And how big should the paper box? Let's show them how big they should be. They don't have to be huge, but in one of the boxes, I want you to take what you are currently the most anxious about, put it into a sentence, and put it into that first box. So what you're currently anxious about, make it something real for you. Giving you a chance to just write it down. Really follow along, do this. Don't just observe this right now. Take the time and do it, because I want you to experience some relief today, pretty quickly, okay? Don't wait. Okay. Second box, what you're grateful for. Now, to make this as alive as possible for you, think of something which, when you think of it, it just opens your heart. I remember one woman saying to me, I imagine the smile on my granddaughter's face, because every time I see her smiling at me, it just opens my heart. So it could be having to do with a person, it could be having to do with, I don't know, something in nature, but the only defining characteristic is that you're really grateful for it. It just opens your heart to think about. I'm waiting so that you can do this, because for some of us, we can think of these things quickly. For others, it might take a minute or so. Put in the chat space if you need some more time, please. I'm going to include everybody on this, so if you need any more time, put it in the chat space, and we'll wait for you. Okay, good. A little more time. Remember what you're anxious about. Don't be afraid of putting down what you're anxious about. You'll see.
There's a question of, do we just put one for each box?
Yes, just one for each box. Something that's salient, meaning something that evokes a response from you when you read it. Because you see, we're going to engage in a training protocol with our brain as though it were an animal, the organ itself, because the brain itself responds to clear, simple commands. The brain has a hard time distinguishing if you load it down with too much. But if you can make your request, let alone command, if you can make it very clear, then the brain, in a way, knows what to respond to. Something I should be grateful for isn't evoking what I'd hoped. No, not what you should be grateful for. What you are grateful for, folks, even if it doesn't make sense to you, you know? Just whatever it is. Extra hot fudge on a hot fudge sundae, whatever. But the thing that we're getting to here is that you are evoking a response. And so this is an important learning in and of itself, isn't it? That if you want to have your brain focus on something, you must make the request as simple as possible. Not putting a bunch of other things in it, like, I should be grateful for this, or what? No, just what opens your heart. Did you say the brain responds to what we command? Yes. Your brain will respond to direction and a command. You know, a command says, do this. It doesn't say, I'd like you to do this, or please, will you try to do this? It says, do this. And that's what we're going to be doing with our brain in a moment. So, I'm going to assume that everyone has been able to put something in each box. And this is how the training is going to go. So let me describe it to you first, then we'll do it. And we actually do it for 3 times. 3 times equals a set. You know, like when you're training, you've got reps, like repetitions within a certain exercise. Well, this is a training exercise. And so each time you do this exercise, it has 3 reps to it, 3 times. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to focus on what you're anxious about for 7 seconds. That's all you need. And then I'm going to ask you to have your brain focus on what makes you feel grateful. And we take that in for 17 seconds. Now, people have said, why 17 seconds? Well, it seems in literature that that's about the time that it takes for the amygdala to recognize what you're focusing on. And see, the interesting thing about this, you're saying to your brain, look, I will tell you when to focus on anxiety. You don't have to tell me. I will tell you when to focus on anxiety. And I will tell you when to focus on gratitude. That's the relationship we're setting up. You know, because who would in their, wildest dreams want to focus on anxiety? But you're doing a very important training here, because you're letting, in an interesting way, you're letting the brain know that you are the alpha. you follow my direction. So I will count out the seconds on my watch. Jeremy, what is this person saying?
Just some examples of things they're grateful for and things they're anxious about.
Okay, good. Now, I will have you focus on what you're anxious about, and then I'll say, shift to gratitude. And immediately focus on what you're grateful for. And I will hold you there for 17 seconds, and then I'll say, stop. Got it? Any questions about that?
There's a question, can you do this with other feelings like anger or sadness, or if just anxiety, then what's the definition of anxiety?
Let's not even get, right now, let's not even get into cognitive definitions. If we had longer, we could talk about it in terms of the different excitational pathways in your brain. But right now, this works with anxiety so sweetly. Let's have you be in the experience, okay? Are you willing? Is that okay? Feel free to answer. So, okay, now focus on what you're anxious about now. Now focus on gratitude. Begin. Keep going. Doing great. Keep going. Stop. What do you notice? What do you notice? You may notice a little bit of a change, you may not. It doesn't matter. What's important is that you are doing this.
Calm, lightness, I can switch, a bit of ease in my heart, my breathing slowed, my jaw relaxed.
Good, good. It couldn't be said, I can't hold two thoughts at once. No, do not. Yeah, exactly. You can't hold two thoughts at once. Your brain can only hold one thought at a time. That is so true. And it really informs a lot having to do with multitasking, but that might be the head of another webinar I'll give you guys. But just for right now, we're going to do it again. Okay? So don't worry if you're not very good at this, Amanda. This is just training. Just being willing to do this is what's important here, okay? So I'm going to have you in a minute focus on what makes you anxious, and then I'll tell you to switch to gratitude, okay? So focus on what makes you anxious now. Switch to gratitude now. Keep going, you're doing great. Gratitude, gratitude. Stop. What do you notice? Sheree, I want to stay. Yeah, you can breathe. Yeah.
Spaciousness.
Yes.
Grateful to be alive. My shoulders relaxed.
There you go.
A stronger shift.
Yep. We're going to do it one more time, folks, because remember, each time you practice, we do it in sets of 3, okay? So in a moment, and when I ask you to focus on anxious, get into it. You know, you might notice that you're not as anxious, but sometimes our brain plays a little tricks on us by blurring the lines a little bit. No, 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 don't do that. You are the one in control. So when you say, I'm going to focus on anxiety, you're going to do it. The same with gratitude. Okay, so focus on anxiety, begin. Now shift to gratitude, begin. Keep going. Keep going. You're doing great. Opening up. Stop. What do you notice?
Possibility. Anxiety got a little boring that time. Sweetness, stillness. Harder to focus on anxiety.
Yeah.
Feeling peaceful.
Good.
Better the third time.
So this is good, everybody. And this is for all of us, no matter how much brain training you've done in the past, how little. Right now, you're doing something that is really simple and very powerful. Now, Deborah has her hand raised.
Deborah, I'm going to take you off mute.
Deborah?
Oh, yeah. I didn't mean to raise my hand, but what I will say, I have a tremendous anxiety, very easy to go there. It was very difficult to switch to the gratitude. I appreciate you saying the blurred lines because I was grateful for my dog. And then I was like, thank God I at least have my dog. I'm anxious because my husband left me. So there was a blur. And so thank you for saying that. So I just expanded to the tree outside, to my body that I have, et cetera, et cetera. And it took some concerted effort. I get that it's going to take some concerted effort.
Well, it's not going to take concerted effort, believe it or not, Deborah. It's just going to take practice. And I'm going to tell you about how to go about practicing and what to do, okay? So I promise you, it's not going to take concern. And what kind of guitar do you have back there?
I don't know the brand. It's a, yeah, I don't know.
I love it. Oh, God.
Thank you.
I
Yeah.
know. Playing music, yes. Thank you, Deborah. Now, three other people raised their hands.
Yeah, Quinby, you're unmuted.
Great, thanks.
Hey, Quimby.
Hi, Maria. So it's kind of two things. Why just one thing? And when you presented this a couple weeks ago, I did it with my clients, and they were like, "Oh, I don't really have any anxiety. I'm fine." So, but they also asked, "Well, why is just one thing, and why just one thing?"
So this is the thing. It's because one thing works.
That's easy.
You know, just like you cannot hold two thoughts in your head at the same time. One thing works. And if a person says, I don't have anxiety, don't do this with them. If they say, I don't have anxiety, maybe they don't need it.
Okay, that was easy. Thank you.
Yes, exactly. Let the person come to you and say, I'm anxious. Okay? Also, because when a person says, I'm really not anxious, it means right now I don't even want to talk about it.
Okay.
Got it?
Got it. Thanks.
So, yes, exactly. And thank you for asking. Because listen, folks, the important thing here is that this is a compassionate process. And you want to be compassionate with your brain. Because your brain has been tossed all around lately with all this stuff that's happening. And remember, you are not your brain. You have a brain, folks. You have two eyes, a nose, a mouth, and a brain. And I think some of you are beginning to see that right now because you're seeing that you do have the power to shift the focus of your attention. And that when you do, you notice a change in your body because you have told your brain what to focus on. Got it, folks? You're saying, with all due respects, brain, I am the master here. And you're doing it compassionately. So a couple other people, please.
Tara, you're unmuted.
Hi, great to see everybody.
Oh, hi, Tara.
Hi.
Hi, honey.
Yeah. I just want to say I am so impressed with the new neural pathways that I've been making over the last year. I've attended several of your courses, and I kind of can't believe how much easier it's getting. Anxiety has been something that's ruled my life in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, my favorite analogy that I've heard is that, you know, it's like spinning your tires in the mud. The rut gets deeper and deeper the more that you do it. So in the positive sense, this practice that you're talking about, I'm really seeing the results. It's so much easier to go there. It's so much faster. I actually, like, after the first time, like, kind of couldn't be anxious at all because of the tools that I'm developing. So I just want to say thanks so much.
Oh, I'm so glad.
We'll know how much this works.
Oh, thank you, Tara. And thank you for letting us all know about this. Because we at the Academy, we're so devoted to having people's lives be easier.
Mm-hmm.
And so the minute I hear this from you, you know, because yes, we've worked together and you're very courageous. But, you know, folks, just to let you all know this, full disclosure, I have been working with people for 50 years now. I'm 76 years old, and ever since I was 26, I've been working with people. And so a lot of what I teach is the culmination of, I mean, it's amazing to say a half century because it goes so quickly. I mean, really inside I'm 36, but so I've seen a few people and learned a few things, but I'm at the point in my life right now where when I hear that it's making a difference in people's lives, it just brings such happiness to my heart. So thank you, Tara.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Okay, next.
Shuya, Yin, you're unmuted.
Please.
Hi.
Hi.
Actually, I haven't took your class before because I originally planned to take class in March. Due to the coronavirus, so I delayed the class. So it's so happy to see you guys online.
Oh, sweetie, yes.
And I'm new starter of coaching training. So when I write down my answer to this exercise, I have a personal question that it's so hard to write down any specific thing about anxious. I feel like anxious just my mental status. I'm anxious just about anxious, not about any detailed things.
Ah, sweetheart, I hear you.
Switch to the grateful because I can't write down any specific thing about anxious. So I just write down 3 things about grateful.
So listen to me. Are you listening to me? Yeah. Are you listening to me? Okay. Listen to old coach here, okay? That is a technique of the brain that says, I am the master. Okay?
Hmm.
You are the master. So, I suggest you have a little chat with your brain. Seriously. Now, you might think this is crazy, but no, it is not. I think you should have a cup of coffee, have some tea, whatever, sit down and have a chat with your brain and say, brain, I want to work with you. And because I want to work with you, I'm going to have us go through this exercise. And so I'm going to sit with you until we come up with one thing that we can focus on. Don't give in to this stuff about I can't focus on one thing. Yes, you can. Of course you can. You've got the power to do it. You hear me?
Yeah, you mean the reason I can't write down something about anxious because I didn't get more deeper into my mind?
You just have to say to your brain, not your mind, your brain, okay? Listen, brain, we're going to engage in this protocol. We're going to do it. And you find one thing to be anxious about. And if you hear your brain saying, but I'm anxious about being anxious, say, nope, we're going to find one thing. And if you still have trouble finding one thing, then sit with a friend and have them support you while you're discovering one thing to be anxious about. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Don't give in to what your brain is saying. Because I don't want to make this too simple, but on one hand, part of what your brain is saying is, no, I'm the master. It's not true. Okay?
Yeah. Thank you. I will
You're
try.
Yes, yes. Remember, as Yoda once said, there's no try. There's only do or do not.
Okay. And thank you for Monica. I saw the chat message in the chat box.
Oh, great,
Thank you.
sweetie. You're welcome, honey. Thank you. Okay. So,
Iris?
yes, I'm going to take, let me take one more person and then I want to go on
Okay,
to
great.
some other stuff. Okay,
Perfect.
so please.
Iris and Ron, you're unmuted.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jeremy. Ron is cooking and listening, so I'll be
Good.
the representative here.
Good.
My question, I do have a question. When I following the 7 seconds and 17 seconds protocol, I found myself was getting more easier to come up with things that I'm grateful. And for the third round, I'm actually can't come up one specific things for the anxiety. And it just kind of like it seems like the training is a little bit helpful. And I'm curious, why 7 seconds or 17 seconds? Is there a science behind the time period? And normally we don't do that, right? At the right amount.
Yes, so 17 seconds is about the time that it takes for the brain to register a shift in, to take in that a shift is occurring, okay? And you can always Google that, you know? So it works. Why do I say 7 seconds? Because as a psychologist, I know, working with people for as many years as I have in the past, that about 7 or 8 seconds is about all you need to establish that state of anxiety. Do you hear what I'm saying? Now, you might be noticing that it's harder to think of something to be anxious about. That is okay too. And so that's what I want to go on with in this next little part. And then I'll call for more interactions with people, okay? So stay tuned and I'll go into it a little bit more, okay? Thanks. So is there someone who's written something at the bottom there, Jeremy?
Lisa says, this is such a great exercise. I can see it taking some time and practice to get better at, like sports, and eventually reach a point where we can tell our brain to stop and it listens.
Well, let's say this. Yes and no with telling your brain to stop. It's much more beneficial to think of simply shifting the focus of your brain's attention. Anytime you say to the brain, stop thinking about that, whatever it is. You know, like I could tell you right now, everybody, try this, okay? This is a little experiment with your brain right now. I want you to not think about a hot fudge sundae with nuts and whipped cream for the next 10 seconds. Do not think about a hot fudge sundae with nuts and whipped cream. Do not think about it. You have 7 more seconds. Not thinking about it. Don't think about it. Okay, what happens? What are they saying?
That's impossible, Maria. I thought about it.
Yeah, you think about it. So the brain does not go with, the brain does not recognize the command don't or stop. Hypnotists know this a lot, folks. I remember talking to a hypnotist who said, you should not say to people, don't forget your keys, because the brain is more likely to forget the keys, because all the brain is hearing is forget the keys. He says, tell people, remember your keys. That's a positive command. Do you see what I'm saying? That's a positive command that the brain can follow. So, 2 things. I suggest that you do this practice 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night, and do it for up to 7 days. See what happens. Now, after doing it morning, noon, and night, where you switch back and forth, you may be at a point where morning, noon, and night, if you simply focus on gratitude, it'll work. And you'll not have to think about anxiety. You can go right to gratitude. But, and this is the important point, okay? This is like the bottom line for you. If you start feeling anxious again at any time, begin the protocol again, because you want to continue to show your brain that you are in fact the boss. So if you notice in the, you know, you've stopped for a while and now you're focusing every day on gratitude 3 times a day, still, you want to build the gratitude muscle, because that's the best way to inoculate yourself against anxiety. Okay, this is, gratitude has been shown in so many studies to be the way to get people to disrupt the anxiety. So if you notice yourself feeling anxious again, do the protocol for at least 3 days. And if you're going along with your daily work and you're doing the gratitude protocol 3 times a day still, okay? And you notice yourself getting anxious, say to your brain, and incidentally, we're going to be sending you out the written protocols so that you'll see it in what I've written to you. Say to your brain, look, we're going to be looking at your anxiety later on today. We're going to handle it later on. So, you know, sometimes I've told people that I say to my brain, it's okay, honey, it's okay. We'll deal with that later on today. just be compassionate with the brain. Pretend that it's like a young child, but at the very least, know that it thinks we're 100,000 years ago instead of right now. So just say to the brain, we'll handle it later today, and return to whatever it is you're doing. You'll find that the brain listens to you if it knows that later on today you're going to have it focus on something that's making it anxious. Is that clear, folks? I want to make sure that I'm being clear. So some of you type yes or whatever. Good.
Yes.
Good, 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 good. Now, the next thing about it is after you've done the protocol once, so you're in the morning and you've done it 3 times. After you've done it those 3 times, I want you to, now this is going to sound whatever, but it works. Acknowledge your brain. Just acknowledge it and acknowledge your body for being responsive. Many years ago, I was talking with a woman. Her name is Jill Bolte Taylor. We were both giving keynotes at a conference many, many years ago. But she had just come out with her book, My Stroke of Insight, in which she tells how she recovered from a stroke. Just brilliant woman, neurobiologist. Anyway, she says, we have trillions of sentient cells in our bodies. And sentient means capable of being conscious, capable of feeling. And she said, one of the things that helped me is that every morning when I wake up, even now, she says, I thank my body. I say, good going, girls. I acknowledge my body. And she says, it's gotten to the point where I can feel like a response coming back. And I listened to her. We had a nice long talk about that one afternoon before she got up to give a speech. And, I said, well, if it's good enough for this woman who recovered from a stroke, it's good enough for me. And I have noticed over the years, when I acknowledge my body, when I acknowledge my brain, there's like a moment of smile that happens. So your brain and your cells listen to you, folks. Is that clear? And try it out. I didn't believe it until Jill convinced me, and it works.
There's one question that a few folks have, which is, do I keep the same anxious and gratitude card for all 3 repetitions and for all 7 days?
Well, keep it at least for the same day. In other words, don't switch throughout the day. So if you're going to you find there's something else you want to focus on that makes you feel grateful, something else that makes you feel anxious, fine, change it out. Just don't change it in the same day. Because the point is, you see, that you are saying to your brain, I'm going to tell you when to focus on that which gives us anxiety response, and I'm going to tell you when to focus on that which cools down the amygdala. So you are the director here. And that's what's the most important. But don't change it in the same day because you're confusing too many things. What is this last person?
There's a question about what are simple ways to set a 7-second timer and a 17-second timer without having to spend a bunch of time fussing with your phone.
Right, I'll tell you what to do. This is what I did for a while. I looked at my phone and I kind of counted out 7 seconds to myself. What does that look like? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, boom. And if you just look at the second hand and practice counting out to yourself. After a while, you'll see when 7 seconds are up, and you'll see when 17 seconds are up. Don't bother with a timer, that goes off. It's adding too much complexity. We have to keep things as simple as possible for your brain. Got it? Anybody else?
Iris said, I have done daily 3 great things I'm grateful for, like a gratitude journal. Is this practice more helpful than 3 things I'm grateful for?
Well, let me say, there are 2 ways of practicing gratitude. One is by practicing it in the moment, which is what the gratitude protocol does. In other words, shifting and training your brain. That's when you're in the experience of it. Just as good, but on a different level, is for you to write 3 things for which you are grateful every day at the end of the day. And I've been telling people to do that for years. As a matter of fact, I think it's in my Energy of Money book, in which I say, keep a list of things for which you are grateful, and do it for at least 30 days, if not longer, because when you read what you've written, you will be astounded at the blessings that are in your life. You'll be astounded. And speaking of looking at the blessings that are in your life, I want to recommend to you all to go to YouTube, and I'm going to have Jeremy put this on the chat space. Go to Brother David Stendal Rast. That's Brother David Stendal, STEINDL /Rast, RAST. And there's a 5-minute thing called A Good Day. I write about it in this paper that we'll send you. I say that if you were to listen to that every day, you will be even further protected. And I do mean that in the real sense, from the tendency of the 100,000-year-old brain to want to go to the edge of the cave and see if there is a woolly mammoth out there. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm drawing a distinction between getting some information that you need, maybe 2 or 3 times a day at the most, and then that tendency of the brain to want to continually look to see what's the latest statistic today and the latest thing at this city, the latest thing in that city. You can get a lot of information by going 2 or 3 times a day to a news feed. But when you listen to Brother David every day, once again, you'll be astounded at the blessings that surround you, the blessings that you can count on every day. And that's one of the things that we want for you, to be able to see what there is to see now. Because, you know, the Chinese symbol for crisis is danger and opportunity. Danger and opportunity. This is your opportunity, folks. So let me take one person question, and then we're going to go on to the final piece.
Yeah, there's a couple questions in the chat that I think are good. I can summarize. A few people have asked, what about when the thing I'm anxious about or concerned about, like when do I make time to actually address it, if it's something that is appropriate to put my brain on? And how do I, sort of a related question is, how do I not just ignore my emotions, basically?
Well, it's not that you're ignoring your emotions. You might see that there's something that you need to address. For example, maybe something having to do with your relationship with money at this time, right? So a good time to address something that you need to do something with would be right after you've engaged in the gratitude protocol, or right after you've listened to Brother David Steindl-Rast. So get your brain in the place, because see, this is what happens if your amygdala is over amped, if it's over stimulated, it's impossible for you to think creatively. It hijacks your prefrontal lobes. And so it's impossible for you to come up with creative solutions, or if you do, it's just a grinding thing. But if you calm down that brain, then it will function better as you look for creative problem solving. So let's go to the last part here.
I'll pull up the slides.
Yeah, pulling up the slides because, and once again, we're sending you this stuff. But this is about what you can do now. And the first thing is making a difference in the lives of others. So let's talk about that. Do we have something written down there?
Yeah, so the next slide is about tips for them, but this
Yes.
is just you talking about.
Okay, great. So making a difference in the lives of others is really, really important and good. As you'll see more in the paper, the gratitude protocol, look for where you can do something that will brighten some other person's day or help other people. That is one of the ways of getting out of your own sense of worry. There was a story of a woman, and this was told on NPR. It was just amazing. In her 90s, early 90s, and it was something like 30 years, she had been donating blood as often as they would allow her to donate blood, because she said, this is the one way that I can contribute to other people, because every time I gave blood, they would say to me, you have just helped save the lives of 3 people. And she said that just motivated me. And the last time she went to the hospital to donate the blood, they told her, listen, you need the blood more than we do. And this is like in her early 90s, and so they didn't accept it. But you know, one of the best ways that you can get out of your own sense of feeling helpless is by knowing that you're doing something that makes a difference for other people. Because, and this is important, one of the things that you learn when you're doing the gratitude protocol and when you are looking at how you can help other people, one of the things you're beginning to experience is something called internal locus of control. Internal locus of control. You can read a lot about it. And once again, it is in this paper that I'm going to send you. A fellow by the name of Julian Roeder in the 1960s developed a whole psychological way of looking at how we respond. Internal versus external locus of control. Where internal locus of control, we know that we are the authors of our own experience in life. We know that we are successful because of what we do. And external locus of control is where we feel victimized by everything that's happening around us. Now, internal locus of control can be taught. And that's one of the reasons that I became so excited about the gratitude protocol, because you are gaining control over where you want your brain to focus. And the people who are generally successful in life are people who can find a way to make a difference in the lives of other people, no matter what's going on around them. So see where you can do something, you know, maybe it's writing a note to people you love, letting them know that you're thinking about them. Maybe it's sending electronic cards to people. Maybe it's calling someone on the phone just to let them know that you are, you know, that you love them. So find ways in which you can make a difference in the lives of others. Then there are tips for what you can do now for yourself and for those you love. One of the things is to really go on an information diet, and you know, just really 2 or 3 times a day is all that you need to allow your brain to do. Practice sleep hygiene. There are so many articles about what you can do to get your brain trained to sleep, because it is brain training. Find movies, short stories, things that make you laugh. And please don't worry that if you laugh too much, you're going to forget about what's happening to you. Laughter is something that releases serotonin, and serotonin is an antidepressant. It literally has us stay happier. And when you work with children, you can work with children. I got this off of NPR, listening to NPR, about some parents who are practicing with children, making up stories about heroes who overcome obstacles and are successful. So, yes, yeah, taking no more than 2 or 3 articles or things dealing with, you know, our common threat. But if you do something to alleviate the suffering of another human being, or just telling them that they mean something to you, that is so wonderful. We all need that kind of affirmation from each other. And what better time to do it than now? What better time to do it than now? So we're almost at the end of our time together. And I wish we had more time, because as you can imagine, there's more stuff I could talk to you about, but an hour and a half, I think, is a big enough chunk, and you all have stayed around for this time. So you'll be receiving an email from us, the gratitude protocol, article and instructions, and a summary of the tips for what you can do now. And we want to leave you with something that this is what we wish for you, okay? So stay tuned right now, because this is what we wish for you. Are you ready?
I feel.
Do you feel alive?
I feel happy of myself.
I feel happy of yourself too. What do you got, any words of wisdom? What about for all the other kids trying to learn how to ride their bike? Can you say anything to them?
Everybody, I know you can believe in yourself. If you believe in yourself, you will know how to ride a bike. If you don't, you just keep practicing. You will get the hang of it, I know it. If you keep practicing, you will get the hang of it, and then you can get better and better at it as you do it.
Give me some thumbs up.
Thumbs up, everybody!
All right.
For rock and roll!
So thumbs up, everybody, for rock and roll, okay? See you next time. We love you. Bye-bye for now.
Thanks, everybody.